Welcome. I'm Otis McGregor, and welcome to the Break It Down show. And I
Hey
almost
man, it's
got my line.
when I jumped on we both made mistakes in the beginning, but you know what? We know how to adapt and overcome because that's what we have done in our lives. So I appreciate you coming on the show, coming back and filling us in on tribe and purpose and where you guys are at. So I guess I'll just give you the floor and tell us about what you well, I guess for those who don't know, tell us about tribe and purpose, and then let's get into what you've been doing the last gosh, it must be like 5 years now. This is we've
Yeah,
chatted.
it's been 5 years at least, dude. Yeah, Tribe and Purpose. We are creating a legacy of great leaders, and we believe that great leaders create great organizations, and great organizations are going to make our communities better, and we have better communities around the world. We have a better world. And we do that three ways. Our DIY, which is our YouTube channel, 10X Your Team with Cam and Otis. That's where tons of free information, our podcast, my whiskey words, great entertainment and great education. Our Done With You program is our leadership development system, the Green Beret Leadership Program. And that's about helping you grow a team of leaders in your business to give you the competitive advantage over your competition. And then finally, our Done For You is our fractional COO. Fractional COOs help that small business leader get out of the day-to-day operation, go do what they do better than anybody else, which is sell the company and
Yep.
establish the processes, systems, and culture to launch the business to the next level.
I love all of that. The idea of a oh, I lost my
Yeah. Okay.
there
There you're
we go.
back. You're
I
back.
lost my I lost my camera for a second there. Are we good now? We're good now. Okay. Yeah, I love all that stuff. The idea of a fractional anything, right? I'm a small business owner. You're a small business owner. There are things that only I can do, and there are things that I'm desperate to not have to do. One of them being social media. It's not a waste of my time because my company starves for that kind of attention. But I've got bigger projects, bigger things to do, people to meet that only I really can do that at this point. And so the ability to say, hey man, I need a COO and buy, I don't know, whatever it is, 20 hours a month from you, man, that work is invaluable because then I can direct my resources better and I don't have to do as much of the stuff that I don't want to do. Now, obviously, a COO is not going to be doing social media posts, but you get what I'm saying. There's capacity that we all need to hire, and I don't need to employ someone who costs me six figures to get a ton of value out of that person. Especially again, this fractional idea is huge for small businesses because you really can get some high end capacity, and the other person gets to say, "Hey, I'm going to focus intently on this for 10 hours a month, and then I'm going to give it back to you, and then we'll see you next month." Right?
Yeah. Well, and one of the things I like to say to my clients with in the fractional COO space is if we haven't helped you grow the business in 18 months, then we haven't done our job. You
Mm,
know, it is not, hey, I'm going to be part of your company part time for an enduring view. I don't look at it that way. I want to help you grow your business so that you can hire a full time COO. That's what
right.
I want to do. When we put in a fractional COO, that's the intent. It's not to just hang on and just kind of ride along and be part time, kind of the guy who comes in and pontificates, waves his hand and then walks away and then comes back again for the next 10, 15 years. No, it's to get it
Yeah.
done, man. It's to get the CEO founder out of the day to day, out doing what CEOs do, and that is set the vision, sell the business, get out in front of people.
Yeah. I love it. Tell us what the YouTube channel is again here, and I'll put a link up in there.
Yeah, it is 10X Your Team with Cam and Otis.
All right, I'm going to put that link up here in a second while we're chatting.
Yeah,
Yeah, the fractional idea, however you use it, right? There's a lot of ways to do it. There's a lot of different fractional people. You can fractionalize your marketing, you can fractionalize your PR, there's a lot of different areas to do this. And so you really can get a lot of work done. And like you said, move the ball, right? Help me move the ball when I'm out there. I'm becoming a bit of a movie producer, right? And this is one of these funny jobs where this is not like our old world, right? I'll say to my friends who are actually movie producers, and I'm like, I don't think I'm really a movie producer. I've not produced anything yet. And they're like, you absolutely have. You're building these teams, you're putting new projects together, you're creating excitement for a thing that doesn't exist right now. But if you don't do this work, you can't get there, right? And so I think about that and like, what else can I do, sort of in the blind, to
Mm.
help advance these projects that are and there's more than one. It's not like I'm working on a movie. I'm working on a host of movies, and there's a lot of thinking and what we would call future operations that I've got to prepare for, so that when we get to those spots, it's like, yeah, we've been working on this for 18 months. Of course, we're ready to go because I've been working on this for 18 months.
Yeah. Well, and if you aren't if you are stuck in the day to day, you can't do that looking ahead to continue to know where to go. That to use the old analogy of land navigation, if you're looking down at your compass all the time, you're not going to see where you're going. You're going to step off into a ravine, run into a tree,
Yeah,
fall off a cliff, walk into a river, whatever, because you're not looking up and out. And that's what you got to do. Yeah, you got to check your compass as the
sure.
CEO, but man, you got to be looking up and out.
You got to be looking up and out. One of the things that I often see is people will talk about leadership, and there is that belief, and I guess in some ways it is true, but there's that belief in the business world that leaders are born, and you and I both know leadership is earned through a lot of mistakes, a lot of hard work,
It's a
a
skill.
lot of yeah, it's a skill, right? And it's a professional skill at that. So it's like, yeah, some things about leadership, but all of us can be tuned up by someone else who says, here's where you're not good enough at being a leader. And you absolutely can rise to that occasion through a lot of hard work and development.
Yeah, well, and because it's a skill, skills dwindle. Skills
Right.
diminish if you're not practicing, if you're not continuing to learn, continuing to improve yourself. Those things, and I think that's one of the things that really frustrates me. You
Hmm.
know, in the army, the pendulum's the other way in the army because it's every time you got promoted, every time you changed jobs, you went to a
Yes.
school and you get
Yes.
that mindset. And you step away from the military, Army primarily, the Marines a little bit, Navy not so much, Air Force a little bit, but really the Army. But you step away from that, so now you're in business, and it doesn't exist anywhere. I mean, there's a couple of corporations, large corporations that have
Hmm.
small leadership schools built in. But you know what they do when times get tight? They cut them away.
Cut it.
I
Yeah.
mean, my dad, Dr. McGregor, worked for Lockheed Martin for years, and not probably about 10, 12 years ago, I asked him and said, "Oh yeah, we had one. We had one. It was great. It was probably like 10 or 15 people, highly honored to be picked, and all this sort of stuff. 10 or 15 people a year
Yeah.
for 100,000 plus company. That's like 10 or 15 E5s going to BNOC, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
what? And,
Yeah.
and so everybody else is just supposed to figure this shit out on your own,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I worked at a corporation in Chicago called CDW, and they had their own little management track, and you had to do certain things, but they weren't really open about it. And so they gave this guy a squad. It was me and a couple other dudes, and all of us are salespeople. And he pulled us off the phones, which is our lifeblood. And he's like, "All right, we're gonna have a meeting." And it's like, "Hey, we got to have this meeting, okay? But we all need to be on the phone, so let's get to it." And he's like, I keep hearing things about you guys, and it's really upsetting me that they're saying that you guys aren't doing this and you guys aren't doing that." And because I'm the only guy who's got leadership training in the room, and I'm like, "And you told them to shut up, right? And if we're your team, you back this up, and then you come talk to us and you whip us into shape, but you never, ever, ever, ever sell us out because then we won't trust you." And
Mm.
you just said that you agreed with them on how bad we were doing. Well, listen, okay, let me help you. I'm mentoring the guy that they're trying to mentor, and he hated that, of course. And of course, I'm
Oh, yeah.
cocky and I'm arrogant because I've done things that are harder, and I know what good looks like. And Otis, none of that looked right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I talk with guys pretty frequently about that and that in those situations. And, leading up is like you did. Uh, it can be done. It's
Yeah,
extremely long-term and difficult when you have leadership above you who believes that they've got all the skills they need and
Yeah.
will ever need, and you are the subordinate and will always be the subordinate. As long as they believe that, leading up is extremely difficult. So then you have to start to decide, well, how long am I going to stay in this environment? That I refer to as a nuclear option. I'm out. Puff of smoke. But really, if somebody's really a leader, and I get pretty anal about this because there's no such to me, there's no such thing as a bad leader. You're either a leader or you're not.
Right. Yeah.
There's no toxic leadership. There's no bad leaders. They're not leaders. They're toxic people. They're bad people. They're people that could take the path to change and become great leaders because, again, it's a skill, but they have to want to. And that's the difference. That's why I say there's no such thing as a toxic leader. There's no such thing as a bad leader.
Right.
They're not leaders. They're just people holding a title. And they create those cultures. And when you stay in that culture, you perpetuate that culture.
Oh, yeah.
You're as much of a contributor to it as that leader is or that person.
Yeah, boy. And again, as much as we're hyping the military model for leadership and everything else, and there's a ton of constant mentoring from every angle from a lot of different things. So there's a lot of that, but also, boy, the accountability ladder problem in the military, especially the State Department, goodness gracious, they're all focused on the person above them, not on the people that they need to work with on the ground level or down here to go do that. And so you'll always get this reverence for the person who's 2 or 3 steps above them, and absolute contempt for people who are peers, or one layer subordinate to peers. And it's shocking sometimes to watch someone who's and look, you and I have seen this, right? But you'll see some poll ad who has no relevance to for everybody watching. A poll ad is a political advisor, usually for something a colonel or a general, and they're kind of trying to guide them on the political aspects of some initiative that we're trying to do. They're always there day to day, and they are probably not the most irrelevant, but they are among the most irrelevant people. And if you try to shine a light on their irrelevance, hey, look right here, see this? And look, a guy like me, my job is to get that poll ad out of the way of the commander, not directly. It's not my job, but to go, hey, listen, that ain't working. What that lady or that dude is saying, that ain't working. I'm on the ground telling you what's happening. That's my job. I peer over that fence and I look around. I'm telling you right now, what they're saying, that ain't working. And again, this is leading within an organization. If a guy like me, and like this is a Mattis thing, you got to have your Mavericks. Everybody wants to be Maverick until you get fired. Mavericks get fired. And so all this stuff boils together into a big leadership problem where if you don't protect your Mavericks, you can't have Mavericks, and you can't have everybody being a Maverick. Sometimes the person just got to play ball. And that takes also a different kind of leadership, I would say. This is what Pete says.
Yeah, I agree with you. And the one thing I'd say, because I throw JAG officers in that same category.
Yes.
I've seen too many commanders when I was still in who they would put it to the JAG officer. JAG officer would say something. They go, okay, yeah, we shouldn't do that. You're right, JAG officer. And it's just, he's a goddamn advisor. He's a fucking lawyer. Right. I mean, in my book, it's bad, probably worse than a poll ad. At least the poll ad has some poll ad experience.
Yeah.
The lawyers only read stuff. They ain't done anything. There's exceptions. Don't get me wrong.
Of course.
But that commander that listens and is not, he's supposed to be taking advice from the poll ad, from the JAG, from the intel, from the ops guys, from the commanders. And then they're supposed to make decisions based on that information.
Yeah.
Not being told, man, that used to piss me off when I worked for a guy that did that, that was told what he can and cannot do by a JAG officer.
Yeah.
There is nothing more far from the truth when that happens.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's bad. And what you want your lawyers to do, the lawyers trying to protect you, but like, how do we say yes to this? Right. That's like the way you have to couch it with those guys. Like, we're going to do this. How do we do this legally? Well, you can't do it. Okay. So let's back up. We're going to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And without breaking the law, we're not trying to cause ruckus here, but how do we get it done? Go stick your nose in the book and go figure out how we get this done. Because
may not have said, start writing a letter because we're going this way.
Uh-huh. Yeah, leading within an organization is an interesting thing because, okay, so we'll use me for an example, but definitely bring the team stuff in. So it's me usually and an interpreter. I don't need a lot of people; they can't move at my pace, and so I'm doing a lot. I'm doing all the prep work, I'm doing all the writing, I'm doing all the post-op work, and I'm doing the operations. Right, so I'm rather busy, and then I have to have something to do with my interpreter when I can't use them for interpreting, and so we're a pretty well-run machine by the time I get done using that because I'm a pro. But there is nobody above me who's going to say, "Hey, Pete, it's time to get up and go get on a mission, or go screw up some work today," or like I have to do all of that. And so I look at my kit and I'm just like, "Oh my God, it's 110 outside right now. Last thing I want to do is get out of this rack. I'm exhausted. I need rest." And there's that character part of leadership where you're leading yourself and within the organization. If I do my job, my influence goes up. Now, I'm not trying to build influence for me, but if I'm your intel guy and you don't listen to me, you don't know who I am, you aren't taking my counsel or guiding me to be better at where you need me to be, then I haven't done my job and I'm not leading from within, even though no one would consider me a leader because they don't see me leading in any way, shape, or form. And I will tell any commander this before I saw them, it's colonels and up, at some point they're going to say, "Pete, come sit on my couch anytime you want. I need to talk to you openly, so don't ever wait in line." Right, and that's that leadership that happens within. But I'll be damned if it's easy for other people who aren't in those positions to understand that I am a leader in this organization, even if I don't belong to them, even if I don't have their uniform on. I am here and I am a leader.
Yeah, well, all leadership starts with yourself. I mean,
Right.
flat out, it's if you can't lead yourself, you can't lead others, and it's the self discipline. I just a couple of weeks ago gave a keynote to a veteran entrepreneur group, one of the IVMF things. Don't ask me to remember what the acronym stands for, but it's the Syracuse entrepreneur thing.
Right.
Sorry, guys. But what I talked about was what we get, the three main things we get from the military: persistence, resilience, and discipline. And those three things enable us to be successful, particularly as entrepreneurs. The resilience is the get punched in the face, get kicked in the jimmy, get up and go again. The persistence is I know that's the outcome I want to achieve. There's the end state. That's the
Right.
vision I want. And I'm going to continue to push through to that vision. And then the discipline is this is how I serve myself. This is how I take care of myself. This is how I get up in the morning at 4 o'clock and roll out of bed and do my old man exercises and then have my coffee. And that's the discipline because let me tell you, it feels pretty good laying in bed next to Miss Suzanne in a nice, cool Colorado morning.
Yeah.
It's hard to get up out of bed and go do that shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the discipline. And those three things give every veteran the head over shoulder, neck and shoulder, neck and head, and give them a big advantage. Let's just say that. Give them a big advantage over everybody else because nobody else has had that. Even if you just do one enlistment, if you make it through basic training and serve a year or thank you for finding that, serve a year or so in uniform, even if it's just that short a time, you've still done that and it's still instilled in you. And the seed has been planted for the rest of your life if you choose to use it. I think, that's a huge advantage. Whether you're hiring veterans or you're a veteran entrepreneur, man, that's how you blow everybody else out of the water. Competition, what competition?
The Danilo Institute for Veterans and Military Families from Syracuse. The link is down below. We heard Otis reference it earlier. When you go to basic training, most of the people there are pretty jacked up in terms of military. Some of them, their lives are screwed up. Some of them are just immature. Everybody's got some kind of thing that they're deficient in.
Dude, I had a guy in my squad at basic that was a no shit, go to the Army or go to jail.
Yeah.
Right. That was no shit.
Yeah.
I think it was a minor drug offense. And that's what the judge told him. You can join the Army or you can go to jail, young man.
Yep. Yeah. And so when that dude is fucked up, what you don't realize is you're fucked up, even if he's not your battle buddy. And so when that guy can't shine his shoes and you can't shine your shoes, you sit down together and you learn how to shine shoes. And if they suck at arranging their locker, you help them arrange their locker, because what else are you going to do? If you guys can't do this together, you can't accomplish a mission. And you're already starting to learn those things. And I don't know how every unit is, but our unit, we got to the point where it's like, oh, shoot, Otis screwed something up and has to do push-ups. Well, then I'm going to do push-ups. Because if he's doing push-ups, what did I screw up? And then you get down, and then another guy, and all of a sudden the whole platoon's like, tuk, 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 in unison, and you're starting to get that this thing it wins and it fails as a team, and we're all being leaders. We all have the chance to stop and say, hey, Otis, your socks, I noticed they're not rolled great. Why don't you and I sit down? We'll spend 10 minutes. We'll go roll 10 of them, and you'll be in better shape. And that's that leadership thing that we start to learn early on in the military.
Oh yeah. And it's the foundation. But again, I still believe strongly that it's a diminishing skill if not used and continue to refine and work on. Because somebody who is a leader seeks to make themselves better. Not only are they seeking to make their team better, they're seeking to make themselves better. Because there's this loop that happens. And I know you've seen this. As my team gets better, smarter, better at their job, better at solving problems, guess what they're doing? They're pushing me, because now they're asking me, hey, well, if we did it this way, what about that? And I'm like, shit, I never thought about that.
Yeah.
So now I'm starting to, well, how do I manage this? And how do I keep that? And how do I keep them involved? And how do I keep them excited? How do I involve them? You touched on something earlier, and I wanted to go back to it, and I can't remember exactly, but it triggered my thought of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It was when you were going out and you're collecting and you're reporting. You're collecting and reporting. Yeah. If that is ignored, and you come back and hand in the report, and the boss goes, yeah, and never says, great job, man. Hey, adjust this, do that. Just gives you the yeah. You know what happens? Your desire to fulfill that mission goes down.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I don't care how freaking tough and badass you are, how dedicated you are. When that happens, when the people that you are doing it for don't appreciate it, then you can't continue to do it. I mean, think about, you go out in the backyard and you cook up a big old nice barbecue. Family comes over, neighborhood comes over, and they all go, yeah, no, I brought my own food. You know what?
Yeah.
Y'all ain't coming back.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I want to be part of something bigger than myself.
Yeah.
And I want to be a contributor. And to be a contributor doesn't mean I'm just giving. It means I'm a recognized contributor. Hey, thanks for that. That was great work. Those things, as a leader, when you start to recognize that and give that feedback and give that acknowledgement and appreciation and adjustments and those sort of things, then you're endearing that team to the purpose. And they see that they are a contributor to a bigger purpose. And when they see they're a contributor to a bigger purpose, they want to do more.
Yeah.
I get asked all the time by people, hey, how do I get these guys to do some more work? Well, you got to treat them right. You got to treat them like human beings. You got to help them. I mean, the foundational basic of it is the team members have to see themselves in the vision that you create as the leader.
Right.
I'm the boss, and I create a 5-year vision for my company, and you're part of my team, and you go to, that's bullshit. I'll never be part of that. Guess what? You're looking for an off-ramp. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. You're either looking for an off-ramp or you're an oxygen thief and a payroll thief from my company.
Oh boy. Yeah, that's good. I mean, I'll use my experience as an example, just because it's the one I know the best, and it doesn't have to be about anybody else, and certainly not about my accolades. But part of what I had to learn how to do, and this learning was on the back of a lot of my own failure, and also me trying to understand how to run an Army unit from my point of view, what I had to do. And if I go out and collect and no one cares about my intel, then I don't have good intel. It doesn't matter how good it is. I haven't done my job. And so part of my job is to go talk to talk to the alpha on the ODA and
Mhm.
say, hey, I'm here. I don't want to be in your way. I want to be an asset to you if you need me to be. I'm glad to collect on whatever it is, and I explain what I do. That is not the last time you're going to see me, though, Otis. It's not the last time. I'm going to check in with you. I'm going to say, hey, let's go. When you go to the chow, let's go sit down and eat, even if we're just getting in. Because if you don't value what I'm doing, then I'm not doing that part of my job, right? And then I got to go talk to COOPs and FOOPs and PSYOPs, and I have to constantly network with these guys and say, are you getting my reports? I will send them to you. Are you reading my reports? Understand my reports are now going in the boss's folder every morning. So I don't want you to get caught unaware. And then you get blown off, right? And so I'll shut up here in a second, but I knew I would know the future. And so at some point, I'm going to find something out that was directly related to somebody in that staff room. We'll just pick on the EWO for right now. It's an example that I normally use. The EWO, every day is, sir, there are your electronic warfare assets. Here are your radios. Here are your whatever. They broadcast into shape. And Otis, I went and I talked to the EWO before, and I'm like, I'm about to give some bad news to the boss. You're not stopping that, but do you care? I don't care. Yeah. All right. Here we go. And so he briefs this week. I got to raise my hand and I got to go, hey, boss. None of them circles are filled with radio signal. Not one. And I've done some of the job, but I just want to let you know that I can't tell you when that was actually true. And the EWO is smoking, right? I gave him every chance to have him brief that and say, hey, I've got some bad news. But I had to deliver the bad news. And boy, the boss looked at him and he looked at me and he looked at him and he looked at me. And this is in the era where they'd stopped destroying people on site. And he rubbed his face. He got all red. And the implied tasking was really clear for that guy, And the next time I showed up to anybody's office and I said, hey, I've got some news, they started listening. And look, I'm a guy that has bad news because war is full of bad news, but they start to get it, right? And so that's part of my leadership is to go, the boss is going to read this. I want you to know about it first. So you and I can present this information together and talk about what we're doing so that he is not guiding you in a way that's harmful to you in your career.
Yeah, you were offering him, here's the vision, right? We don't have to say 5-year vision. Here's what's about to happen. That's a vision.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you want to be part of this vision? Because this is what's going to happen. You
Yeah.
can be part of it and it won't and mitigate the pain that you're about to go through. Because that's what would have happened if he'd said, oh shit, Pete, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, let me check my instruments, right? But he said, no, you don't know what you're doing.
Right. I would have worked with him to go back out. Give me a couple more days. Oh yeah, no, I want you to give me a couple. How can I help you? Right now, you're my client. How do I help you figure this out? And that's again, that's that internal leadership piece that we've been talking about. Is how do you build people and enable people to do that? Now, I had learned to operate within an organization that I didn't belong to because that was the only, and it made me a free radical, but when I learned how to speak commander to commanders, whether it was a dude like you or the boss or whoever it is, then all of a sudden I could figure out how to become an asset instead of this guy who sat back in the two shop and never left the camp.
Yeah. It's well, and again, that's the know, like, and trust for sales. You're doing sales to here's the capability and leading yourself back to what I was saying earlier, persistence, resilience, and discipline to make sure that you are fulfilling the mission that you were originally assigned to go there and perform. And then selling it, literally.
Yes. Yeah. It's
knocking on the door. You were a door-to-door cold salesman.
all the time. And I got so many doors slammed in my face. These are by professional military people too.
Oh yeah. Well,
hey, I'm going to be here tomorrow. I'm going to have to tell you the same thing.
There's a great, and I don't remember which Stoic said it, but you can't learn what you think you already know.
Yeah.
And if you're that guy, it's the derivative of never be the smartest man in the room.
Oh yeah.
It's the derivative of that. And if you think that you've got all the information you need, well, then anybody coming and talking to you, you're not going to ever hear it. Nope, got it. We don't know those people. Got it. I mean, even the hand and arm signal, right? Nope.
Yeah.
Got it.
Ah, absolutely. Absolutely. I've got Stanley McChrystal coming on the show tomorrow. His new
Oh,
book is
cool.
called On Character, right? And
Awesome. Boss,
I think he's
boss, tell him hi. He may remember me. It's been a long
okay.
time, been a really
All
long
right.
time. And I
Yeah.
was always amazed when I was working for him years ago. Shit, 20 years ago. Oh my God. That was
Yeah.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
Pass him in Balad, and he'd go, "Hey, Mac, fuck you."
Yeah.
I may have briefed him once or twice in the span of
Right.
2 or 3 months. Sat in the back, the back outer perimeter of the briefings and stuff like that on other time.
Hmm.
And that man, yeah, there's a reason everybody liked working for Stan, and that was one. And there's a great leadership thing for you right there.
Yeah.
Is he had an innate ability to remember faces and names, put those two together,
Yeah.
and an empathy for the men and women that work.
Mm.
And that right there endeared us all to him. It
Yeah.
really, really did. Because I watched the boys. You know me. I'm even back then. I'm watching characters and movements and body
Yeah.
language. Man, there wasn't one dude in that command that wouldn't have dove on a grenade to save him in the blink of an eye. I mean,
Yeah.
Stan McChrystal had us. That's why I mean, seriously, I just keep going back to it. That's why all of us loved working for him, because he was that guy that had. Now let's go back to the leaders aren't born.
Yeah.
Leaders are not born, but we're born with, and this is the nature nurture debate. We are born with some genetic tendencies towards our personality, and I believe Stan has some of those personality traits
Yeah.
in him that have enabled him to be a great leader. Whereas somebody like me, it's like, shit, what was that dude's name again? I really liked it. Man, it was a great conversation, but
Yeah.
I don't know that guy's name.
Yeah.
You know, it's the elbow of my wife. Hey, honey, could you introduce yourself to that guy over there?
Yeah.
Sort of thing.
Yeah.
But and that's the name thing is a small part of it.
Sure.
There's a lot more to it, but it is the fact that great leaders, anybody can become a great leader through work.
Yeah.
Some people have a shorter path to get there because of some genetic personality tendencies.
Yeah.
Think of it like
Yeah.
I was thinking of it like swimming, like getting
Hmm.
ready for dive school. I had a buddy that was one of those guys that had like hollow bones. The tread and water thing. Your earlobe
Yep.
and your wrist can't touch the water. He'd be there like all day, man. Come back after you get me a burger, man.
Yeah.
He was that guy. Could eat a burger while he's doing it. And meanwhile, I'm working my ass off for the barely making it for however many minutes it was.
Yeah.
And it's like that. Yes, I did it because I had the extra work. My buddy, he didn't have to work as hard to do it because
Yeah.
he's genetically different in that sense. And I think there's
Yeah.
a decent analogy of leadership. Everybody can get there. Everybody
Right.
can be a leader if you go through the work, put the work in, do the hard work. Some folks, the hard work is easier for them.
Yeah. Boy, that reminds me of a couple of things. So I was working with a guy named Colonel McGuire, became General McGuire, and he ran a brigade within the 82nd in Iraq. And I was a seasoned collector, excellent. Like, let's say I was like a purple belt, like I really knew my stuff, and if you left me alone, I was going to deliver for you. But I didn't know the mechanics of the organization. I didn't speak commander yet, right? So I was going to get good information, but you were going to have to discover me. I was still the guy that left the camp, but you had to dig me out to get me involved. And so I knew I was good, but I hadn't known if I was reaching him. And I might poke my head in now and then to say, hey, because we were kind of from the same part of the Bay Area and everything. But I was out in the field doing my job, and I am not at all worried about what a full colonel is doing. He's got 5,000 people to worry about. He doesn't need to worry about me. So I'm doing my job. And he came to our tiny little JSS where I was staying at temporarily, and he was going to get that commander's briefing. And everybody watching, this is the boss is in charge of multiple battalions, and each battalion has multiple companies. And sometimes these companies get cleaved off in half in this modern kind of way we fight, and then there'll be half of a company out at some little island of battle space that we call a JSS, where you're living with the Iraqis in this case and the Americans. So we're several layers down, but still a captain running the things. And so he's coming out to see this captain because he's got to do his job. He's got to rotate through the battlefield. He's got to mentor his captains. Got to mentor his colonels. And so he comes out, and I'm there, and I'm there, and I'm doing my job, and we're not out and about. So I'm in the briefing because that's my job. And he goes, "Oh, Pete, come over here and sit next to me." And I sat next to the boss, and I was like, "You know my name?" And I'm like, "You sure?" And he's like, "Yeah, absolutely. I need to know what you think." And I was like, "Oh," it's like, "I've been reading your reports. You're doing great work." I didn't know that. I knew it right in my head, but I didn't feel it. I didn't believe it until he said it. And man, you couldn't have puffed me up anymore, you know. And it wasn't ego. It was like I actually unlocked a lot of my potential because I'm like, oh my gosh, someone's reading this. Kind of we talked earlier. Someone's actually reading the things that I'm working my heart out to give to him to help him, you know. And then I realized there was a communication channel, not only me to him, but I could communicate vertically above him too. And he taught me. Him and a couple of the colonels taught me that I can say things that they couldn't say, and I can nail it right on someone's desk. And they appreciated the hell out of that because sometimes they need a back channel. Oh my God. And then I realized that, I'll shut up next. Colonels don't have any friends in command. And if I could be his friend, even for 10 minutes and let him just be, you know, Mark or whatever his first name was, well, that was a little lift off his back. And those guys appreciated that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You know, you reminded me of, you know, when I first started sharing content, videos and newsletter and those sort of things. Is, you know, there's a similar aspect to it. I'm sending it out, you know, putting it out for public digestion with the belief that somebody somewhere at some time will watch it, read it, and get something from it. And you know, you just kind of it's a very similar sort of feeling. I just kind of do it, send it, do it, send it, right? And then one day you run into somebody and they're like, "Yeah, man, I've been getting your newsletter for 4 years. I read every one of them." You're like, "Holy shit!" That same sort of thing. Or man, I saw you get a comment from somebody on YouTube on a video. Like, okay, wow, I had no idea that, you know, Bill, John. I mean, two of the guys that I've always respected the most, Ken Tovo. I loved working with him. I never worked for him, but Ken and I always had a great relationship. Started off in the hand-to-hand pit, which was always fun. And he was one of those guys that came, you know, past me at Soft Week and said, we were chatting. He's like, oh, I said something about a newsletter or whatever. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I get your newsletters, read them all the time. They're great." I'm like, holy shit. And then the other one was one of my old team sergeants. He's like, you know, out of the blue, I hadn't talked to the guy in probably 10, 12 years. And in the way I started my email list was every email address I've ever had. I just dumped them in to the newsletter list. And I get this, I figure if you don't want it, you want to subscribe. What's it going to hurt? I get this email from this guy, from Bill. And it's like, holy shit, you're reading it? You know, I mean, that same sort of thing, that same feeling of, it goes back to what I was saying before. I want to be part of, we all as humans want to be part of something bigger than ourselves and feel like we're contributing to a better outcome, a better way for that organization, that world, the humankind, to be better. And when you get that, just that one or two feedback, it's like, wow, okay, cool, I'll keep going.
I told my buddy Mark this very same thing. It's a thing that I'm realizing now that I'm in my 50s. You know, I'm not the oldest guy in the world, but when was the last time someone paid me a genuine compliment? You know, and I'm like, oh my God, compliments are valuable at this age. It's like gold. And so I told my buddy Mark, and I'm like, when we were kids, and we teenagers, we used to play football after we did soccer practice, and we would just go tackle each other and throw the ball around. You know, 3 or 4 dudes, nothing special. And he's like, you throw the ball like Dan Marino. And I was like, what? This is the mid 80s, man. I was like, yes, I had the arm of God, and I had so much confidence, right? And I knew I could throw, right? Same thing. I knew I could throw. I was pretty good, but I was an athlete, not a jock, right? And so I could hang out with the jocks and I could throw the ball. But from that point forward, whenever I played pickup football with somebody, especially if there was jocks there, they got to see that arm. Like I put that thing on display, and I had confidence because my friend Mark had said, "You throw like Dan Marino," and I and I'm not just sports stuff, but I think people can relate to this. My buddy Mark Kelly played varsity baseball. We were on a softball team after high school, and he's like, Pete, you can really play outfield, but you can catch everything. The way you snatch catch stuff, all that, that means you can go get the ball, and you're awesome at it. And I don't know why he told me that, but I believed him. And so when I'm saying all this is to the people you live with, the people you interact with, the people you lead or work with, tell them something nice. That's true. Don't give them platitudes. Say something. And I bet you, like I'm in an age where a lot of my lady friends are letting their hair grow gray. Let them know it looks great because it does. And just say, hey, I don't know if anybody told you, but your hair looks fantastic.
You hear that, Miss Suzanne?
See? Yeah, have confidence in it because it does look great. It's awesome. And there's nothing wrong with the way your hair looked before, but if you're letting your hair go gray, no, I'm on board. I love it. And just let them know. Let them know. It's awesome. And so those compliments, I think, is a great way to be a leader in your own life, just day to day, like going to the grocery store or whatever it is. You can still be this person who's a leader in your community. It's like, hey, that guy's all right because he said I wore a great sweater. And I don't mean be pervy. I just mean be complimentary.
Well, let's flip it though.
Yeah.
One of the problems that a lot of us guys have is accepting a compliment.
Yeah.
I got a buddy of mine. I don't know if you know Scott Kinder or not. Scott and I were talking. He just the guy writes books like you and I are talking right now. Just released another book. But somebody put a comment in his post about releasing the book about how great it was, great information, blah blah blah. Great compliment. And Scott's like, oh, I threw up in my mouth. He's one of those guys that can't take the compliment. Yeah. I mean, most of us have that. I've learned to. I've taught myself to accept them better. Camden and I have had this conversation. I don't know how many times. Some of it recording, some of it just sitting around over a whiskey and chatting about it because it feels awkward to get it. But when you remember that person is doing it with sincerity, if you don't acknowledge it and accept it, you're throwing it back in their face of your opinion doesn't mean anything to me. And when you start to think about it in that sort of way, it's like, hey, I'm accepting that compliment, man.
Yeah,
that means a lot to me. I hear what you say because now because I'm accepting it, you're feeling that satisfaction of giving it too. Whereas, nah, man, that's bullshit. It was just nothing. It wasn't nothing. It's like, oh,
yeah.
Okay, well, you son of a
bitch. I love that. Well, I mean, playing on that theme, let's just go a little further with that. As we, have these compliments or we learn to take compliments. This is just the spy trick that I either discovered or invented. I don't know. But learning how to be a great guest and allow someone to, like, if I came out to where you live, you and I both know we live out in the mountains and everything, Colorado, and you would like, hey, let me show you around. I know how to do this. I'm like, absolutely. Show me everything that's great about where you live. Take me to all these places, and I will be the greatest guest because I'm going to be awed at how amazing your place is. And I'm not putting it on. I'm legitimately going to do that. But let people show you what's great. Oh, I read a book about it. Don't do that. Yeah, read a book about it, but let Otis show you around and be like, check out this. This is my favorite spot to stand in the evening because right there when the sun's set, and I'm going to be amazed at the things that amaze you. When you offer me something, hey, let me help you out. Like, I run a small business and a lot of people contribute. By the way, everybody can contribute. I'm not going to do a call to action here, but you all should help people out to create things. And when someone's like, Pete, I see you working and I'm going to give you $50 a month. Well, thank you. Holy cow. Yeah, that's great. That's huge. And I make sure I call them because that's a difference maker for me. I mean, if I had 100 people give me $50 a month and then 100 people give me 20 and 100, all of a sudden there's a decent amount of money coming in, and it's such a big difference. So let someone help you. Yes. And when they tell me what to do, like, hey, here's what you ought to do, and I'm like, no, don't tell me what to do. Put $5 a month in my jar. That's good. I know what to do. I know what to do. Just put the $5 in my jar. And if you don't want to, no harm, no foul. But if
Yep.
you want to help me, don't tell me, don't put more work on my plate. Put a little money in the jar. And then you'll be amazed. I'm talking to everybody. You'll be amazed at how often somebody says, oh, I'm not going to do that. Well, then don't bug me about work. I got enough work. And I love it. Or put $5 in, or $10 or $15, because that's going to help me make a difference. Do you see me working hard? Great. Then that's what you do. And that's how you help someone, is to be a great guest, figure out where the help is, figure out where the work is, and apply yourself to those things. And Pete would say that makes you a good leader.
Yeah. Oh, it does. It does. And I'll put another spin on it.
Please.
I coach guys through the Commit Foundation and the Honor Foundation, guys getting out of the unit, leaving the service. Most of them retired. And one of the things that I always harp on is the catchphrase "1,000 cups of coffee." It's not literally 1,000 cups of coffee, because when I talk about targeting and building a collection matrix and all that sort of stuff, but the whole point of it is for them to expand their network outside of their their current dudes they're serving with, sort of thing, and get into even industries and corporations that they want to work with. And the roadblock they run into is, I have nothing to give to these guys. When I'm talking with Pete, Pete, could you educate me on podcast and movie producing and stuff like that? I want to learn from you. And then they feel like I can't call up Pete and ask for that, because I can't give Pete anything.
Right.
But what I tell them is, you are giving them something. It's just like the compliment. You're allowing Pete to help you.
I'm desperate to do it.
Yes, because he wants to share what he knows. He wants to see you successful.
Yes.
You never. I mean, and truthfully, if the dude don't want to do it, then he ain't gonna answer the phone. I mean,
right. Yeah.
So it's very similar to the compliment thing. It really is. Because we have this, especially again, us of a lifetime of service, have that feeling of the fair exchange. Pete, you bought coffee last time. It's my time to buy it. Right. But then you have those friends. There's like, no, I'm buying it. Just every time we're together, I'm buying. You don't get a choice. You don't get to say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, fuck it. All right.
And this is the way a lot of my friends pay me. They're like, you're not buying this meal. I know what you're doing. One of my friends said, I see how hard you're working. I know it's hard to make ends meet, but don't you dare quit, because we all want to be you. I didn't know I was carrying all you guys. Yeah. And I realized, like, I'm just not me looking at my kit going, I gotta put this thing on and go out and do this thing. And by the way, keep in mind, do this thing is go out into war. That's not even the first concern. It's like, I got to put this stupid thing on. And the rest of it is all done, like, once I get moving, right? But I also got these guys with me, and they're dying to see me succeed. So how in the world can I let up, right? And so, that's part of that whole compliment matrix thing, where it's like, I now understand that I can do this. I am being seen. And that, I think that it's just a huge thing to be able to give someone that. And even if it doesn't work, it's a seed. You plant it, and then whatever. If 1 in 10 comes up, you're doing great. And if you get really good at it, you get 5 out of 10. Whew, wow. Now you're really good at giving compliments.
That's a hell of a close ratio.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Well, let's promote some of your stuff so we don't run out of time. I know we're yakking here and having a good time, but obviously there's the YouTube channel. You can go there and see Cam and Otis talking about all that. What else do you want me to put up here in this box so we can promote that?
Put our landing page, 10xyourteam.net.
Okay.
And that's where you can see about those 3 lines of effort. And I'll share something else with you. And it's kind of I wouldn't say it's under the radar, but it's not on that landing page. And that's our Steel Men tribe. It's an invite only tribe, where a small group of men, we've got 2 of them currently, 2 tribes, 2 Steel Men tribes, small group of men come together to help each other be better leaders, focusing on the tendency that we as men have, which is leading with masculine leadership, and that is a propensity to take action. There's a problem
Nice.
there. I'm going to fix it. And the aspect and the realization that I can't do it alone. We've touched on a lot of this, and I want to help others do it. I want to be part of other people growing. I want to be part of something bigger than myself. And as men, we do better in that sense of working together, literally working together. We're better off. We better relate if we all have a shovel in our hand and we're digging a hole together. Much better than anything else. And that's what we're doing with Steel Men Tribe. And our values are honor, courage, knowledge, and legacy. Because I believe that the other thing that we as men want to do is we want to make an impact and leave a legacy. And not our name on a building, but that effect that we have on people so they can live their life better.
Yeah. It's good, man. That value of life, right? And what kind of legacy. I don't care if my name's on a building. No one's going to care about that. I certainly don't. But I would love to help someone. And every time someone comes out of my past and they're like, you said something to me, I think, oh, Jesus. Did I give back? Because sometimes
that's our first reaction to the dude.
Was this drunk uncle advice, or was this actually? Oh, it was actually good advice. Okay, but it happens, right? And so it also is like a proof that you and we've been true to ourselves, and our words do resonate. Like, oh, that's exactly. I remember saying that to you, or whatever it is, right? So those things matter, and I love to hear. I love to hear those seeds come back to fruition. I've been talking about high school for over 20 years. Talking to seniors, and I don't know that they really get anything out of it, but I believe there's something in there for someone, and so I keep doing it because I would want to. The young me was desperate for someone like me to come in and just be honest, and that's exactly what I do when I'm there. I'm just honest with them. They ask me a question, they don't get a parent answer. Sometimes they get a parent answer, but not their parent answer. Just honest, straightforward. Like, yeah, and I like to point the dragons out. There's a dragon right there. Like, you want to go learn how to tread water with your hands up? Are you good at that kind of thing? No? Well, then you better get in the pool every day. Go work on it for 20 minutes. You will get better. You can overcome that dragon, but you have to do it. You have to go. I cannot fight that dragon. I can point him out. I have to take some steps to get around him. But ultimately, you and that dragon got to get together, and you got to get past. And if you think that dragon's hard, don't worry. There's worse ones.
Geez, much worse. You know what that reminds me of? One of my I don't know if it's philosophy or whatever, mantra. You smile at people.
Oh yeah.
Dude, head nod, smile at somebody in the aisle at the Walmart. You never know. They may not smile back, but you never know. That might be just the thing.
Yeah.
That changed their attitude. Or they might not smile back at you, but they might smile at the next person. It's the old 2-finger wave on the highway, right? Hey, what's up, man? What's up, dude?
Yeah. Interesting. Have you read Stanley's book, McChrystal's book, his book on character?
No. I read the Team of Teams because that was when I was there working for him.
Sure.
Yeah, I remember that part.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in there, right? It's kind of a stoic meditation kind of book, and it talks a lot about these things. And one of the things I don't particularly care for, because I think it's just too black and white for me, because I live in a world full of people, is kind of the I'm just gonna pick on Jocko, like the I try harder where we're stuff, and it's like, hey man, you got to develop elegance, right? And I think Stanley's got a lot of elegance in his book because you have to learn from some of these mistakes. You can't just outwork every problem. As you said a few minutes ago, sometimes these problems, and if you're good at solving problems, you take on problems that you don't think you can solve by yourself. Like making a movie, I can't do that by myself. There's no way in the world, right? And so that character and that strength to say, hey, I need help. And I'm going to get told no a lot. I'm going to get told yes with no action a lot. But if I outwork that part of the problem, sure, then I can go make a movie. But I have to always build elegance into what I'm doing. Otherwise, I won't be able to get anything done because the things I take on now are way, way, way harder than when I was 19 and trying to keep a brick above my head when I did, treading water. Like that dragon was easy. Give me these bigger ones.
Well, it's always moving forward. That's, if my canoe metaphor. I grew up as when I was Boy Scout, we used to we used to do canoe trips down the Brazos River. And I learned Brazos River is, a typical Texas river. It's wide and it's slow. It has a lot of
Mhm.
sandbars, and a lot of trees hanging over. Uh, and if you want to go somewhere, you got to put the paddle in the water. That
Mhm.
current will take you down, and you will eventually end up in the Gulf of America. uh, it was the Gulf of Mexico when I was a kid, but now it's the Gulf.
Mhm. Yeah.
The Brazos will eventually take you down there, possibly on some point eventually, because it's a river.
Yeah.
But if you want to go somewhere, you got to put your paddle in the water and you got to
Yeah.
pull against the current. Because if you're going faster than the current, you can steer your boat, steer that canoe wherever you want it to go. But if you're just sitting riding the current out, you're just riding. You're going wherever
Yeah.
life takes you. If you want to be, a mouth breathing oxygen thief the rest of your life, you go right ahead. If you want to take action and move forward, you got to put your paddle in water and start doing something, creating
Mm.
resistance, creating that action to move forward. And that's where the differentiator is.
Yeah. If you can get in that river and you can oar yourself to somewhere, you get a strong back. And a strong back, you can do a lot of things. You
Oh,
can be a help to someone who needs help moving. And he helps someone move. They're moving is uncomfortable.
yeah.
And I mean, I'm a guy who's moved a lot of people, and that's what I love to do. And I try to do this professionally with things, right? I'll say, I want you to worry about something other than getting this move done today, because I'm a moving motherfucker. If you're ready, you, don't ask me to pack anything. I'm not a packer. I'm a mover. But I will get this truck loaded. It'll be loaded awesome, and everything in here can fit into that truck. I promise you. So worry about something else. Don't worry about moving. And yes, on the back end, I'm going to unload this thing, and it's going to all be in whatever room you want it in, and you guys are going to unpack it. But this part, don't worry about this part anymore. Get out of my way. Here we go.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and that's that canoe thing, right? I mean, you learn that skill and you apply it in other areas.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I just think of that every time. I mean, I can visualize being in that river,
Sure.
30 years ago, and what it was like so much shit, more than 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I better do better math. We'll say more than 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But, the feeling of control
hmm
of the boat, when you put that paddle in the water and you reach out and you grab a big old handful of water and you pull it through and then you
hmm
do it again and you feel the momentum pick up going with or against if you choose to, but I'd always recommend going downriver because now I'm using life's momentum to accelerate me to get to where
Yeah.
I want to go.
Yeah. 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 Stanley in his book, one of his mini chapters is on looking forward. Don't look back. Look
Mhm.
forward and keep going.
Yeah.
And there's something in that. One of the things about character I've noticed a lot too is ego gets in the way, having to say that thing that you need to say that you really don't need to say, that doesn't actually do things, or that thing that's not fully the truth, or not allowing someone else's truth to be equally as true as you. And these kind of things, they erode character, they erode integrity, and it seems like folks are desperate to talk about things that they just don't have license to talk about, and destroy any credibility they have, even when they're talking about things they do have a license to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's it goes back to our self
Mm,
discipline to self confidence. If I'm confident in myself, I don't need to say those things.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't need to prove that I am better at steering the canoe than you.
yeah,
You
yeah,
I don't need to prove that unless we're in a race, because then I'm going to beat your ass. Uh, that's different.
yeah,
But I don't need
yeah,
to do it, right? I mean, we're hanging out having a beer. I don't need to be telling you, well, if I've been steering the canoe, we do da, 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 you don't know what to do. Come on, man. Do I really need
yeah,
to?
yeah,
There's a lot of folks around uh, in my network, my life, in various places that tend to do that, and it's like you ain't got to prove. Why are you trying to prove
yeah,
something to me?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
it's high. Some of them I
Oh
know
my gosh.
for a fact ain't
Yeah,
true.
yeah. Well, and the other thing is to not deny someone's, like, without, no, if I don't know you and you say, hey, this is what I figured out from whatever being in special forces, and if I just think that you're lying from the jump, man, what kind of asshole am I? And that's just so common to see, especially on the internet. It's like someone will just dismiss it, like, hey, you don't know me, you don't know my greater work, and so that's fine. You made a mistake. Here I am to correct it. This is what I believe. I'm in charge of what I believe. I'm glad to clarify it for you. And if you see me make a mistake, great. But don't assume that I've half-assed my work, because you're not going to see that happen. I'm not going to do that. And folks are desperate to throw people away like that. And it's tough to work through that problem publicly and say, this is how I do. Like I often wear different baseball caps. I go to a ballpark, I'll buy a baseball cap, and they'll say, well, you're a fan of the Twins. So I went to the Twin game. I want to see those guys do well. But I'm in charge of who I'm a fan of.
Mm-hmm.
And if I choose to be a Twins fan today, then guess what? That's what I get to do. I get to decide, and you don't get to determine my level of fandom. And so there's a lot of folks like that who wanted to. There was a guy on X, and X is a dumb place to talk about, but it's a good example. He said something silly, and he's an Intel guy. And I said, come on, man. You can't say that so-and-so is an asset. And then he quoted around my little things, I'm a former spy. If you're a former spy, and I'm like, yeah, I am a former spy, and I do have the credentials, and you don't know what you're talking about. And if you did, motherfucker, call it in. 1-800-CALL-SPY. They will deal with it. But it's all these things where people want to like deny credentials, and then how we deal with it. It really is what I can control, right? How I handle it. And whatever. Just character's hard to keep. Integrity bleeds out fast, like a face cut. It bleeds a lot, and so you don't want to compromise those things. You want to be precious with character and integrity. So says Pete.
Yeah, well, I agree 100%. There's also, and the internet has fueled the tall poppy syndrome.
Oh yeah.
Now that there's folks who are idiots, and I'm not gonna cast a stone on Tim Kennedy, but because I haven't done the research, because I don't want to contribute to the tall poppy syndrome, but I've seen enough of it to know that he went the wrong way, said the wrong thing, and shame on you, Tim. But that's how I'm going to leave it. There are a lot of people who they thrive. I don't know if it's thrive or they get energy from calling bad people, calling people who they see as on a pedestal out when they stumble because they're human. That the actor who gets a DUI, the gymnast, Miss Suzanne and I were talking about this in private form, Mary Lou Retton, gets arrested and it's on camera, and then the idiots or whomever releases it on the internet, and people are, it's the tall poppy syndrome. I mean, goddamn, whether she was a DUI or not, it sucks. And there's so many people that thrive on that. It's sad. And I do my best to ignore it, just like the Tim Kennedy thing, right? Matter of fact, earlier today, I think I clicked on one of the podcasts because apparently he put an apology out and all this stuff now. And I'm like, I've got more important things to do with my life than to listen to this guy read Tim's apology and say that apology isn't good enough. And, okay, but I don't care about it. So I'm moving on. It's like, damn, you fucked up, Tim. Okay. Does it hurt me? No. Does it drain the value of things I've done in the past? No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't want to push back, but I do want to bring. I got his thing up here so I can quote what's quoted here. But apologize. It's like we hear people say, "I take full responsibility," and the consequences that come with that. Like that's part of this whole thing. And the second you throw an adverb in there, and I bring this up because he says,
"That what happened?" Because, like I said, I didn't. I just know that apparently there's an apology out there. Okay.
Well, you hear me say one word adverb, and you're like, "Oh boy." Interviews in which I unintentionally misstated aspects of my military service. Don't say it. Don't take the adverb out. I misstated aspects of my military service. Just take the full hit. Don't throw that adverb in there, because you and I both know he's unintentionally. Oh, unintentionally? Okay. And because now because it's got a dick I am, and I'm like, yeah, I've already turned my back on him, right? And I don't care. I'm not mad at Tim. I'd be nice to him if I saw him and everything. It would be genuine, but yeah, just if you're gonna do it, take the full hit. It's just a thing with anybody. If you have the character to say, "Hey, I made a mistake. I was wrong. Accept responsibility, and if there's something I need to do to make up for it, please let me know." And then just leave it at that. Don't throw adverbs in there. Don't spin things around. Just take it on the chin, boss man. Take it on the chin. So
Well, you know what that means is that's not a true admission. I mean,
yeah,
it's not he's anybody that would say something like that
yeah,
from our world that says I'm telling stories about what I did
yeah,
unintentionally. Or were you under the influence? Then you're going to
yeah,
claim PTSD and TBI
yeah.
uh, as an excuse, which again gets me fired up because quit making it fucking
Mhm.
excuses.
Yeah,
Don't.
yeah, no, we all know in our line of work, no excuses. I did that. I apologize. If you can forgive me, I'll do better.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, or
That's-
yeah, my shit is fucked up because I got blown up 3 times, and
uh-huh.
sometimes the wires don't match up, and I might say something.
Yeah,
Okay, well that's different,
yeah,
right?
it is different.
And I'm
Right.
seeking help to fix
Hmm.
this shit.
Yeah,
Uh,
right.
you know, shit. That's like somebody getting a DUI
Yeah,
saying it's
yeah.
the bottle's fault. It's that bottle's fault right there. Wait, where's my finger? There it is. Come on, finger. There it is. There's the bottle.
And the other thing that
Bottle's fault. It's not my fault.
right, yeah, yeah, no, yeah, absolutely, yeah, like I didn't, the bottle, yeah, the bottle and me got along well when I was talking. The other thing in all of that, and taking just Tim out of this thing, is to have the courage to say these things. Now, it's 100% true that most of us have something screwed up in our personnel file, and so if someone was to comb, and why would they, right? But if someone was to comb through my
All
stuff, I
poppy
can't.
syndrome. That's why they would.
Yeah, right. And that's fine. It's a hit job. You got to take that on, right? But I can't prove all the things. I legitimately, because they give out so many awards, and part of the time I was with the Army, not in the Army, I legitimately don't know all the awards I've been awarded. One of them I threw in the trash as soon as I got it, and it's also not on my. And no one else knew that I threw it in the trash. I mean, my squad did, my people I was with, but the commander didn't know, and it's not on my personnel file. It was, and look, everybody gets a Echo Tango suitcase award, and so I got it. It was way below what it was supposed to be, and so it was garbage to me. That I can't prove that I ever got that thing. You and I both know that I got something when I left the Army. So it's possible to dig in on somebody and get something wrong, but I shouldn't be the one who says something that I don't believe is true, right? And if I make a mistake, that's different. You say, oh, you know what, I was probably wrong about that, because sometimes memories are conflicted. But yeah, to say things that are hard about Michelle Black and her husband, oh my gosh, and all these other things that he's done. Yeah, there's no need to do that, and I don't know what makes him feel compelled to speak that way, and to brag about things, especially about his peers, in such a negative way.
Money, money, dude.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Fame,
true.
fame equals money, uh,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's an evil thing, and
Mm,
we all have to.
yeah,
That's why we need. That's why we need. I mean, truly, a tribe.
yeah,
Somebody to call you out. Me to say, call you up on the phone and say, Pete, man, what the fuck?
yeah,
Why
yeah.
would you do
And
that?
also,
Right? I
the
mean,
group. Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't
well,
cut
I
you off.
mean that's what I'm saying. We all
Mhm.
need those people that are in
Yeah.
our inner circle that can pick up the phone and say, dude, I just saw you on Fox News. Did you say XYZ? You know that ain't fucking right.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh, boy. Yeah, and also to have a group of peers that you can say anything to, because sometimes you got to sort stuff out for yourself, and you don't want to put a filter on. And it's one thing to say, I don't have a filter. It's another thing to say really hard shit without a filter to people that you care about, as you try to sort through how you're going to deal with that. Because sometimes thinking out loud and getting someone else's input is what you have to do before you take on. I mean, look, like I don't want to be a dick to anybody, but the trans thing, it's hard to navigate. It's hard to navigate. And so you're trying to understand, like, how do I best navigate this? How do I be genuine to myself? How do I not be a dick to somebody else? I need a group of peers to figure that out. And I have a very good group of friends. We can have this stuff and make jokes about it, and sort through it. But then that helps me understand where I need to be and how to be me.
Yeah, yeah. That's you know, I'll give the plug. That's part of what the Steelman tribe does.
There it is.
It is.
Love it.
The feedback I've gotten from the guys, I'm starting to call them the OG instead of Chapter One. Men Tribe OG, the plank holders is because we're 6 months in, so getting my 6 month feedback is that almost to a T. Every one of them has said, "Hey, now I've got a group of men that hold me accountable, and then I can say things to them clearly and honestly, and not have to worry about it."
Yeah. That's that iron on iron, right? What's the how does someone apply to get selected if you guys will take them?
Yeah, it's one of the drop downs on the 10xyourteam.net. I think it may be like 10xyourteam.net/Steelmen, but it's on the menu up top in the margin. It just says Steelmen Tribe. There's some information about it and a link to click to get on the wait list. I think. Well, have an interview and then I'll put you on the wait list if you are a good fit.
Nice. I'm gonna see if I can get my computer. I gotta get a new.
Keys harder. Hit the keys harder.
I know.
That always works too.
My E and my T are quitting on me. Tribe Otis. I'll get this thing pulled up here in a second. Talk for a second while I get this thing up there, and anything you want to say in closing. Close us out.
Yeah. I'm going to Australia here in a couple of weeks. Miss Suzanne and I, a little rugby tour with the British and Irish Lions, and any of my Aussie friends looking to have a brew or a coffee with you while we're in Melbourne, the first part of the trip, and then Sydney, the second part. So
love it.
Looking for, I've already got a couple of friends on the short list. So looking forward to doing that and meeting up with some guys that I've never met in person. So
I love it. I love that. Yeah. IRL in real life. Yeah, for sure. If any of you want to get a hold of Otis, obviously you know how to do these things. You know the work the internet. You can find him or just email me, and you can. I'm glad to do an introduction. Otis would want me to do it anyhow, so I will send him your way or you his way, and you guys can sort out what's next. I'm always down to give introductions to people, and Otis is a person you should all want to meet. So, thanks, Otis, for coming on the show. Any final note before I wrap this thing up?
Yeah, I'll give you the one phrase I love to say to people is live your life with intention and pursue your purpose. If you do that, man, nothing can be wrong.
Here we go. I'll be right back to you. Everybody else, I'll see you tomorrow with Stanley McChrystal and another show. 3 shows.